but also we're trying to give them something we didn't have. And that's the honest truth. Like with travel, that's the biggest thing. We're trying to give them something that we did not have. We didn't have parents who had the means to take us on certain vacations or what have you. And so, and we did move away from Michigan when we got married. From our immediate
family.
And I want to be able to see my kid more than once a year. You know what I mean? So that means that sometimes we either do a vacation or she's coming to see us or whatever. And that'll get a little bit more complicated with our second child when she graduates college. But like, this is a thing I want them to have. And since we have built something within our financial portfolio where we have room to do so, I want, like our trip last year, they would have never been able to pay for that.
Exactly. But we had the time of a life.
Welcome. This is For Better and Worth,
the podcast where we don't believe you have to sacrifice your relationship while you grow and build your net worth.
We are your hosts.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Ericka Young. And we're so glad you're joining us today.
All right, y'all. Let's get into it. Hey, babe. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great.
You know what? It's later in the day. We done had dinner. And you still got energy.
You know, remember how, like, years ago, and even now sometimes, I eat dinner and I have this, like, man, I'm ready to feel invigorated. Like, food is fuel.
I mean, it is, but when I eat dinner, I want to go lay down somewhere.
Right, man, you ate too much.
Well,
you shouldn't have eaten as much as you did.
Sometimes I have eaten too much, yes. And sometimes I'm just done.
I feel like, let's get it. What you want to do? Let's go.
Well,
where we at?
We're in the studio, babe.
Right.
So we're going to talk about something that is super real to our life right now. And
I think it's real to a lot of people. They're just realizing that reality is hitting them.
Mm-hmm. So I watched one episode of Oprah's podcast, and Melody Hobson, who I greatly admire, which is actually why I watched it, because she was on. She's a financial guru, has been around for a long time, president of Ariel Investments, and just has a really amazing story from where she, started, the house that she grew up in to where she is today.
Started from the bottom, now we're here.
Yeah, that's her story.
From the bottom, not a hope.
Yes, and so she's made a name for herself, even though she is, in fact, married to George Lucas, which is all in and of itself enough.
Well, hold on. That's not exactly starting from the bottom.
No. As a child.
I know.
As a child, she was dirt poor. Their family was dirt poor. So, and she was worth her weight, before she married George Lucas.
Met George, so.
Yes.
George came up.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I love that.
Right. George came up.
He came up. So.
He was a nerd.
So they were taking questions from, the listeners. And there was a young lady who was 22 getting her first job right out of college. And Melody posed this idea to this young lady and said, I want you to think about, when will you not take another dime from your parents? Like, set a date, an age, a moment in your life where you're not going to take another dime from your parents. And this was obviously as a part of a conversation on her standing on her own 2 feet. Her parents are currently helping her with her rent and all that. And she's going to get her first paycheck and all the things. And it's this transition. But Melody was casting vision about, where are you going to be in the future, and when are you going to make this shift 100%?
I might tag our kids on this one.
Listen, I mean, I honestly sent the episode to them because I was like, I hadn't ever thought of that in particular being a finite day. And so that was interesting.
I'm joking, but like, we have launched one fully out on her own, and I would say she is doing her thing. She's taking care of herself. She's not calling us asking for money. She's paying her rent. She's taking care of everything, and The only thing that we're doing is she's on our health insurance.
And our phone plan.
Yes. And I was like, she can come off the phone plan too. Health insurance, she gonna be coming off of that. I was like, nothing like that clean break. Come on up off that cell phone plan too.
Yes. And is she still able to access our HSA? Do we?
No, she's never been able to.
No. I'm saying there have been bills, her medical bills that we have paid on the HSA because she's still on our health plan.
Yeah, that's just because we were being kind.
We were being kind, yes. But I'm just saying that was a thing that was still kind of happening.
Yeah. But I think the point is like she could set a date and say she's not going to take any more money from us. But I think it's just an interesting conversation because you talked about how she grew up dirt poor, made something of herself, and now she's super successful, married to a billionaire.
Well, built an investment firm, herself as well.
Look, I'm not downplaying her. She got racks on racks on racks.
She got racks on racks. Okay.
So she's got her own money in addition to, George Lucas. Everybody just probably knows George Lucas' name because
yes,
he made one of the greatest movie
franchises in history.
So, but like if I think about our daughter, I feel like she is standing on her own 2 feet, and she is doing her thing, and she is learning to navigate and make decisions about how she wants to live and what she wants to do. And as she's looking at her career, good, bad, or indifferent, the things that she likes or the things she doesn't like, she's really being holistic in her approach to, she thought about changing jobs and, she's like, well, I can't take any pay cuts because she has lifestyle that she has acquired.
Gotten accustomed to.
Yes, and she likes that. She likes getting her nails done, and she likes taking these little mini trips.
And her biggest expense is the fact that she has decided to not have a roommate.
Yes.
So she has a 1-bedroom apartment that she does not want to share. She doesn't want to go into a 2-bedroom and share it with someone. And so that's a big decision because that's money. Expense. That's money.
I said, those roommates in college, man, she was like,
She was scarred for life. She was okay.
Like, I'm not doing that again. But I think it's a valid question because, I get the point that Melody is making. Because when we got married and we launched out, we didn't go back. Like even before we got married, I wasn't asking for money from my mother or my parents.
Let's be clear though. They didn't have money to give us if we asked. So the difference here is that she could come ask for us for money and we would have it. The question is, do we help in that way? Which we haven't had to. It's just an interesting question.
I guess because I knew I couldn't go back, I figured it out.
Yeah.
I found a way to make it work for me. And then when we got married, it was like, well, my responsibility doubled. And so my mentality always shifted like, okay, well, it's on me to provide. You work and you provide income, but I was always of the mentality that, well, I got to hustle, I got to grind. And then when we had kids, I really just went into, overdrive. Like now I've got to provide for not only me and a wife, but, children. And so I feel like part of my thing was to, get to a point where I reached, success in life where I could be in a position to give back to my kids if needed.
Yeah.
But more so, I wanted to put them in the position by teaching them things, giving them good habits, inputting into them as they grew up so they wouldn't have to come back and ask us for money. They could be self-sufficient, independent women going out into the world, not, independent where they can't have a partner and stuff like that. But I feel like that was an important thing. So it's an interesting conversation when you think about it.
It is. And I never, as a financial person out here, never thought about that question. And I think like you, I wanted to always be in a position where I could, if I needed to, help my kids. But I never wanted to need to. And now that I'm thinking about it, so let's just, on the simple terms, anytime we're with our kids, we pay for everything.
Well, yeah.
And I'm talking about dining out. I'm talking about,
Yeah.
you know, even our youngest, we've given her money on a regular basis since she's still in college. And when she goes shopping for her clothing, she pays for her clothing. So we're not engaged
But
in
when
that
we
way.
go out to eat,
When we go out to eat, them
she
jokers.
leave her driver's license. She leave her wallet.
She like, I can't drive y'all home if y'all
Right.
have an extra drink or something.
She leave her debit card. It's
she
funny.
like she reverts to being a child.
Yes.
Okay, like a child who is less than 16 years old and can't drive. And so I'm like, okay, but the truth is,
she funny because I guess it's like the stress of school.
Yeah.
Like, because she's always on and she is a high achiever, high performer at school. When she comes home, she's like, look, I need a break.
Yeah.
And so she's like, I'm going to be a child at home. Mama, dada.
I mean, literally, she lays on my lap and she wants me to rub her head and all the things. And I love
it because the time is going to go away.
It is. There's going to be a day where that's not going to be the case. And so, I don't know. I mean, I think it is a quandary because I think there's this whole idea of you want them to launch off and be able to take care of themselves. And then you also have worked really hard to be able to make sure that your family doesn't lack for anything. And so in that regard, that's, you know, like, where is the dance? Where does it end? Where does it stop? Because there, you know, if we're going out to eat together and we don't see our oldest, you know, all the time because she doesn't live here, but it does bring up, you know, are we going to forever be in the people in the family who pay for the dinner?
You know what? You know me. I like to be, you know, I like to take care of my family.
Yeah.
You know, and even when they're married or they have, you know, when I have grandkids, they're gonna be like, Pop coming to town. They know Pop keep a roll of hundos with him.
Sure, but that's different.
Yeah.
It's different. It's I think it's the expectation of we're gonna take care of certain things. And I think that it is the fact that it means that they don't have to dip into their financial world when they're with us.
I'm pretty sure that when they get married and stuff like that, I'm going to change. I'll be like, my money's no good here. You have to carry this load, young man.
Okay, so we got to talk about what our friend said.
So you talked about Melody, and it was interesting. We have some friends, some really good friends, and they have children, you know, slightly older than ours, and you know, and we all have children in the same range. From
we're all empty nesters now.
To slightly older. And one of our friends said, you know, they were talking about, like, when you go on vacations, do you pay for the vacation? And I was like, well, yeah. He's like, that's the problem right there. See, you know, you paying for it. They should be paying for the vacation if they want to go. And if they can't afford it, then don't go. And I'm like, well, the times are changing where my kids are going to have families of their own at some point. And the ability to maneuver and navigate is going to change. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like we're in this window where I want to spend as much time with them as I can. Mm-hmm. Because I love them. We all get along. You know, we've been a very close-knit family. And so if it means that we're going to go on vacation, if I want them there, then I'm willing to pay.
I don't want any obstacles to my kids spending time with me and us having our core unit. And the reason is because it's about that relationship building. It's about the experiences that we have together, because we won't get this time back. And so...
And this is just a moment in time.
It's short.
Yeah, I'm sure I won't do that forever, but like we've talked about just personally, we want to have vacation properties and, you know, and it's like set the expectation. Hey, just get to the vacation property. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, we got everything from there. Yeah. But that's just how we want to be loving and show love to our family and our children. And I think it's okay.
I think it is too. And so that's why you and I are aligned. And I thought it was kind of interesting that our friend had a differing perspective. My whole thing too is like, not only does this add value to our relationships, but like, I want to make sure that we're like, the time is short. Yeah. And when we can't do this, when this isn't the priority for them, like they'll have their own family and things like that. Like I
Going
want
on
to
their
make sure that
own family
this is
vacations.
foundational.
Yeah.
But also we're trying to give them something we didn't have. And that's the honest truth. Like
Yeah.
with travel, that's the biggest thing. We're trying to give them something that we did not have. We didn't have parents who had the means to take us on certain vacations or what have you. And so and we did move away from Michigan when we
From our
got
immediate
married.
family.
And I want to be able to see my kid more than once a year. You know what I mean? So that means that sometimes we either do a vacation or she's coming to see us or whatever. And that'll get a little bit more complicated with our second child when she graduates college. But like, this is a thing I want them to have. And since we have built something within our financial portfolio where we have room to do so, I want, like our trip last year, they would have never been able to pay for that.
Exactly. But
you know,
we had the time of a life.
I have absolutely no regrets. Yeah. And I still to this day look back and I would never have had her pay for it.
And I think about what our friend said, and I thought about it ever since he said it. And it was like, it was prompted by a comment that I made. And that comment was, I felt like the kids today are built differently than we were.
Oh, right.
Growing up.
Sure.
Because, I had a paper route in 6th grade. I worked at a fast food restaurant when I was in 9th grade. I had jobs all through high school. Then when I was in college, I literally worked. The summer after my freshman year, I worked in a factory. The summer after my junior year, I worked in a lumber yard. And then I went and worked at FedEx full time while I finished the last 2.5 years of school. Mm-hmm. So I paid my own way through school. And so, I feel like I've always hustled. And our kids they're just super smart young women. They got scholarships. And I didn't want them to have to work. I wanted them to be able to focus on school and have
college.
Right. And have an experience in college that was slightly different than the experience I had because I was working full time, going to school full time. And I just think that's a lot of grind. Mm-hmm. And so, our oldest, she's trying to navigate the corporate world. And some things she has to just learn, they take time. Mm-hmm. And, I was like, she'll get there as she's figuring things out. But he was like, well, if they're that way, it's because of you. And then it prompted this whole conversation.
Yeah.
And so it's just some interesting thoughts.
It is, because one of the things that I said was that they have no struggle. There is no resistance to them getting the next thing that they're needing in their life. Mm-hmm. So our kids were never really needy. They didn't want all the latest and greatest all the time. So thankfully that wasn't an issue. And we didn't hand everything over on a plate either, right. Because when it was time for them to get a car, both of them paid half for their vehicles.
Look,
they worked for that.
We instill value and principle into both of them.
And giving was a part of what they knew to do in our household, as well as saving money and those kinds of things. And so I think we really tried to ensure that they had a well-rounded financial outlook. And so I think there's a part of me that was like, I'm not worried about the extra spend that we have on vacation, but I do want to make certain that they have enough tough skin out here, resilience out here to bounce back when life hits them sideways. Right. And sometimes, because you and I were raised in single parent households, and we didn't have everything all the time that we needed, or we were told, no, you can't do that, or you got to go get a job to get it. That built something in us that potentially they don't have in terms of that bounce back resilience. And so that's the wrestle we have, is do we give them less in order for that to occur? And the truth is, for me, I'm like, no, like my kids I'm going to pay for the vacation in this season of life.
So as you're talking, I was thinking about that. And we love to hear what you guys think. So drop a note in the comments.
That's right.
Let us know your thoughts. Because I don't think there's a right or wrong, and we talk about progress over perfection. So do what works for you. This is simply our thoughts. But I think it can hurt a child when you're supplementing and bridging the gap when they have overextended themselves or they're
Yes.
doing too much.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's when it begins to hurt. Like our daughter, our oldest, we were very intentional about, okay, you meet with her every month, going over her budget.
Mm-hmm.
And before she moved or before she got a place, it was like, okay, here's your income. This is what you can afford for
Yep.
rent. Don't go over this set amount. And she didn't go over that amount.
Mm-hmm.
And she adheres to the confines of a budget.
Mm-hmm.
Now she will shift and move things because she may want to buy something or do something, but she is not irresponsible.
She also last year got a second job because her friend was getting married and she
Yep.
wanted to go on this bigger vacation with her friends.
Yes.
So she was like, I'm going to get an extra job just to ensure that I can maintain lifestyle and do this trip. And I commended her for that.
I think that's why we are willing
Mm-hmm.
to pay for vacations, because it's almost like handle your business
Yeah.
in your everyday,
Yeah.
and we can help you do the extra.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like pay your rent on time. Make sure you pay all your bills. Make sure you're saving, because they're saving it. She's saving into her 401k. Our youngest is saving into a Roth. They both have, savings for emergencies. So handle your business and your four walls. Then when it comes to the extra, I'm happy to help supplement that, because you're checking all the boxes. But if you weren't paying your rent and you expect me to help supplement that, I'm like, you live in a place that costs too much.
Listen, I'm gonna need you to go sit down and yeah, we
And
not about to.
that's the difference, I think, when you start to drill down to it. Because what if one of them needed to come back?
Mm-hmm.
They needed to boomerang. It's like, no, well, you can't come back here.
Mm-hmm.
And our friend, I know they have had to endure that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, as a parent, when you're in a position to do better, I think you should do better.
Yeah. And I do think that one of the places where I think it's important to have boundaries or to set a date is if there has been a failure to launch, right? If they have not yet left the home and it's getting to be a longer period of time, like, and it's not beneficial, right? So case in point could be where if you 28, 29 years old and you haven't left the house, and I'm not saying, I'm just throwing a number out there, but if you have never left the home, you're not paying any rent, and you're also not saving money, we got problems here. This child needs some boundaries, a deadline for when they need to be able to fly the coop. And I think parents need to help their kid do that. They can't just say, you got to be out in 12 months. They need to help prepare them to
structure.
Help them to see what that looks like. And so in that case, I think that's the role of the mentor, the guide, the parent who can help them to do that. You know,
I told our girls that when you leave here, you need to know how to solve problems and make decisions. Because if you can solve a problem, that will inform you on how you go about making your decision, because you'll be informed. And I think they apply these things that we've taught them over the years, and that's what put them in a position to be able to, stand on their own. And I feel like our youngest is going to do the same thing when she graduates from college and gets out into the workforce, and they're going to be fine. But I think there is another level to this that we've started to talk about, because we find ourselves in that sandwich generation where we have aging parents. And it's interesting now because we have a I'm not going to say a live-in guest, but we have a guest with us right now for several weeks.
Yes.
Which I don't remember anybody talking to me about, like, the duration of the visit.
I'll be honest. When plane tickets were purchased, I thought it was 2 weeks, and so did she.
Right. I was like, hold on. Now, how long you say?
So my mama is here for 3 weeks. And
I love your mama, though. She cool.
She cool, and she's chill. She's like a really easy house guest. That's the honest truth.
Maintenance.
And so, but it's so interesting because with her being here so long,
That's an extra person. That's an extra food bill.
It is like groceries. I'm not worried about it, but it's also the dining out. It's also, the stuff that you want to go off and do. And, we have done things like there are things we just have gone out. We're hanging out. And
The
those
question
things,
starts to be like, who pays for
like
all
how
this?
much of this am I paying for? You know what I mean? Like it's just this constant dance, right? And now I will say my mother has been very like open, like, hey, I'll pay for this, I'll do this, blah blah blah.
And you'd be like, no, Mom, it's okay. I'd be like,
Let me take that money.
You don't give me that money. Put that money in my
Well,
pocket.
okay. So there was one thing that I took her for what I consider was a little treat, something that she would never do for herself. And I was like, well, since it was my idea, I wanted to pay for it. And then,
Oh, you didn't tell me that.
yeah. And then,
Oh, you just gonna pass that over like you took her off and you doing all this stuff. You didn't tell me you was paying for it.
and it was just the one thing, babe.
It's the one thing, then it's another thing
Well,
that
and
you
then
ain't told me about.
The day before, she took me to lunch. She paid for my lunch, okay, or my dinner, whatever it was. You know what I mean? But it's this weird dance because I'm like, well, how much of this do we absorb as well in an effort to be a great host, having mom here?
Right, and this is your parent who they've put into you, they've given into you. So it's like, well, do I let her pay? Or
I feel like it's almost like every other time there is just, okay, sure, you could do that. Or, nah, it's okay, I'll take, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like that,
And I know because there have been 4 of us, we've been used to paying for 4. It's like we get an extra person. It's like, okay, what's one more?
I know, right?
It's like we've been paying for 4 or 5 all along. So what's
mom
what's
don't,
3?
Mom don't eat much. She don't eat a lot.
Right.
So like it's like, okay, well, this is an extra $10. It ain't no big deal.
She gonna have that she gonna have leftovers. She gonna have a whole nother meal.
Right.
So I guess I didn't help myself in essence.
But it's also the events, the things that we're doing. You know what I mean? And so it's like, okay, how much of that? And it's not even really something I used to think about because now, like since living here, Mom has been able to come back and forth a little bit. We see her more often.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a longer weekend, for instance. She doesn't typically stay a week unless it's the holidays. And so
nor has she ever stayed 3 weeks?
She's never stayed 3 weeks. Even when our kids were born, it was just 2.
Yeah.
And so anyway, it brings that question up. So I have tried to find a little balance where it's like, okay, one, talk about whatever the thing is.
Mm-hmm.
And 2, there is this pride in knowing that you're not taking advantage of someone and that I think that is something for her. She doesn't want to ever feel like she's taking advantage of us. And so she is very grateful and appreciative of all the things. And so I think she says that sometimes by just saying, no, I'll take care of this time.
Yeah. I remember when, my brother wasn't, working for a long time. And then he got into the workforce and was doing things. And, because I knew that we would go or we would do things or we would go have meals. But I got it, man. Don't worry about it. And he started to say, well, like, I got money too.
Mm-hmm.
And it became like a pride thing. So I was like, okay. And I was mindful of it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, you can pay for mine too. I don't turn down any gratuity. If you want to buy me a meal, I'm here for it.
Yeah, and I didn't tell you. So while I did, do the little service for Mom, I paid for that. The next day when we went out, with our daughter, she paid for lunch for us, and I paid for the tip.
Oh, but I wasn't there, so I ain't.
You didn't get the benefit of it.
I didn't get the benefit.
Got it.
So.
You know what? You should take her out to lunch tomorrow. And she might pay for it. She might pay for it.
I'm a busy man, But
anyway, it's a quandary sometimes.
Yes.
It's a dance, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And I appreciate that it's really easy with her because she's willing and she's not trying to take advantage. But I think sometimes it can be a challenge when folks are actually trying to take advantage of you.
When our kids reach our age, God willing, and we're still around, it's going to be easy for me.
Easy for you to say, yep, you could take care of my stuff.
I'm not paying for nothing. That's what I'm gonna say. I'm not paying for anything. Y'all got all this? Cool. I'm going over here and sit
So
down.
here is the interesting
That's
thing.
that's what I'm gonna do. Nigga, when it's time to pay, y'all got this. Boom. I'm gonna be out. I'm gonna go sit down.
You know what?
But Dad, yep.
We
Y'all got
should stop taking our debit card. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh.
Oh my God. But
But
I'm curious.
No, because we might end up washing dishes with that youngest child. She'd
right.
be like, well,
She'd be like, wait a minute.
nobody has any money. You got your phone? You got Apple Pay?
So I'm curious, now that you've heard what Melody Hobson said, does it make you shift and think, is it really just marriage that change, or like our kids getting married that changes how we do travel with them, or dining out when we're out together, or even entertainment of some sort? Is that the linchpin? Because let's be clear, what if somebody doesn't get married?
I'm gonna be honest with the people. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Okay.
I'm gonna be honest with myself.
Okay.
As long as my kids want to be with me and spend time, and when they have spouse or no spouse, kids or whatever, as long as I'm able to, I want to show love towards them. Mm-hmm. And if showing love towards them is helping them in different ways, allow me to do it, allow me to be the catalyst to do it. I don't want it to be an expectation.
That's the difference. So I think
Right.
that also serves well for interacting with your parents and how that works. Because let's be clear, I think we do have somebody in our family who expects it.
Oh yeah,
yeah. and it's
that joke
minor. It's minor.
Let me be quiet.
It's minor, but clearly it is expected. Okay, I saw what you did. We're not getting into that on the air. Okay, it's fine.
Mom's the word.
Come back to me. But I think that word is so important. The expectation.
Yes.
On one side or the other, that is always taken care of or whatever. I think that's the difference.
Right. I feel like I've always, like, the way God made me was to have a heart forgiving. Mm-hmm. Even though sometimes, I can get a little tight when people put whenever there's the expectation, that's, I think, when I shift. I want to do it freely. Mm-hmm. I want to do it unprompted. I want to feel like, hey, I just want to show love.
It comes from your heart versus it comes from their demand.
Right.
That's
when
the
you
difference.
Put demands on me, it's like, hold on, I'll put the brakes on. Like, that's on you. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's where I have to start. I distinguish. It's like, I do it freely because I want to out of my excess or out of surplus that I have.
Yeah.
Not because you're putting a demand on me. Yeah. And you know me, that's just me. And it's like, hold on, now don't. Look.
I don't have to do nothing.
Look.
What we not gonna do.
Don't. Boy, don't
it's
get
okay.
me.
We just talking. No one is putting a demand on.
Right.
Nobody is putting a demand on you.
Okay, I'm coming back.
Come back, babe. Right. Come back.
I'm back. But we could go on and on with this topic because some people are going to agree, some people are going to disagree. But whatever it is, do what works for you. And I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer to this.
There probably isn't. But I will say, we don't want to do anything that hinders our adult children's financial confidence. Like, their ability to flex the muscle of taking care of themselves is so vitally important. And I also think the pride and the joy, we don't want to take that from a parent who wants to bless us or who wants to just make sure that they're not being a burden. Right. I think it is, again, I like to say it's a dance. It's a conversation. I think you need to be open about it. And sometimes we joke more than, you know what I mean? Like, we bring down the negative energy by just kind of having, making a joke, and I think that makes it easier.
So I'm going to get to my make it worth it.
Okay, let's go.
I think when you talk about helping, in a way where you don't want to hurt your kids, I think the way you make it worth it, one, is to help set a solid foundation with them. Teach them solid principles on how to manage money, how to have a relationship with money. And I think it will serve you well, later on, because I feel like we have been teaching our girls over time to have a good financial relationship with, a good relationship with money. And so they are responsible. They're doing the things that we've advised them to do. They're saving for their future, for emergencies. And so I think it allows me to be giving, as I said. So to me, make it worth it by set a good financial foundation for your children. Be a good financial example for them. Whether you were off track and you got back on track, that's a good story for them to see. And, value the relationship over anything, because I want to see them win. I want to see them win in life. And if I'm helping to give them experiences, because for me, paying for vacations isn't about just having an awesome trip and having fun. It's about getting a life perspective, to understand that people in other countries don't necessarily live like you, to have a broader view and a world economy view versus a limited, narrow view. So for me, there's always an underlying lesson or something behind that. And so for me, that's how I make it worth it. What about you?
I love it. That's a good one. I would also say, at this phase in life, we have the means to do it, but that doesn't always mean that we should.
But that doesn't always mean we do it.
Right. And so if you don't have the means to do it, don't feel pressure to do so. I think that's another thing, is that on both sides, with your kids or with your parents, make sure you know and understand your own personal boundaries, and that it's not taking you off track of your financial goals, because easily, supplementing in this way could be a few $100s a month. And if that's keeping you from investing in your future, that's problematic.
Don't
right?
sacrifice your future for
Yeah,
those kids.
Exactly. For anybody, don't sacrifice your future. And so I just think that know what your own personal limitation is. And it's okay to express those boundaries and say, hey, I got this one, you got next, right? Or whatever it is, because I think that ultimately, this is all about making certain that you take care of your financial household. And like you said, teach your kids how to do the same, and make sure that, along the way, that you're having experiences that are awesome, but it should not take away from you being able to get where you need to be financially yourself. So,
well, I enjoyed this conversation.
Me too, hon.
So,
yeah.
And I hope you guys enjoy it. Press that like, subscribe on YouTube. And until next time,
we're out.
Thank you for spending some of your time with us today.
We appreciate all of your support. So be sure to subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you listen to this podcast.
You can find us on Instagram at For Better and Worth.
And sign up to receive our free guide, The 7 Reasons Your Money Relationship Isn't Working with Your Partner, on ForBetterAndWorth.com.
Until next time, we're out of here.